everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 38 of the Big at the Back podcast. My name is Tom. I am joined with Matt. Matt, how are you?
Not bad. 38 episodes. That means we must be near the end. Just a couple of game weeks to go. I mean, fantasy-wise, it's been a bad week, which I think a lot of people are in the same boat. But West Ham won. We're finally probably safe. Millwall bottled a championship playoff place in the last game by throwing away a 3-1 lead at home, while the away fans, the Blackburn fans, were singing "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles." So overall, it's been an all right weekend. And it's been another long weekend, which is always nice. How are you?
I'm tired, man. I'm tired. No, we're going to be positive this week. FPL, I guess the easiest thing to say is it's a good week to have a bad week, because it feels like everyone was floating around with scores up between 25 and 45 this week. There wasn't any triple digits, any insane score lines. So it's a good week to have a bad week. And you know what? Liverpool have won 5 on the bounce. Top 4 looks like it's still unlikely, but it may happen. So
you're welcome.
I mean, there is an upside to everything. However, this is an FPL podcast, so we have to talk. I think we're going to start by going through the last few weeks, because we haven't had a podcast since our bench boost finished. So we're going to go through the last week and the week before. We're then going to look at the next few weeks, because it's an absolutely bonkers 3 weeks left of fixtures. And then we're going to look at the best captaincy options and differential options when we're looking at this double game week 36. So let's start. Over the last 2 weeks, what was your bench boost like first in game week 34?
It was all right. The other thing I've just realised is I just found this in my drawer. The big at the back predictions that we made at the start of the season.
I've still got mine. We're holding off.
I forgot about that. I was just looking for something and it caught my eye.
I think I put Brentford to be relegated.
Yeah, great shout that.
So mine are...
I think I went for Southampton, so that's a great shout, but we'll see. My bench boost it felt disappointing, but it was still a good week. It was quite a bit above average. My final points before deductions were 115, 12-point hit, so 103 net score for the week, which was about 20 points above the average, still with 15, Dunk with 11. Remember when Brighton were good defensively? Akanji with 3, which was the real disappointment, having brought him in for Nathan Ake, who, of course, didn't play in the first game and then got a big 15-pointer against West Ham. Trippier with 2, because Newcastle can't keep clean sheets anymore. Grealish, Rashford with some all right returns. Salah with 18 across the 2 games. Isak with 7, and Haaland as my captain, doubled up to 32. In terms of my actual bench players, the bench boost got me a total of 7 points. So once again, proving that the bench boost is a fucking waste of time.
So up till this year, I would agree with you. But on my bench boost, I had an awesome week when everyone else was having a bad week. Every player that I didn't have seemed to not work. Hey, at least one of us is starting to put up trees. So I got 150 on my bench boost, -4, so 146 because of transfers. Stones, Estupinian, and Trent coming in well. Mitoma with only 4 was disappointing. Rashford with 8, Grealish with 7, Salah. Then Isak with 7, and Antonio, after you told me to get him in, has 3 returns in the 3 games I've had him for. So that was a brilliant shout. Thank you very much. Don't know why you didn't do it yourself. On my bench, I had Dallo with 10 and McAllister with 12, and then Trippier and Iverson. So I had 27 points on my bench. So it's the first time ever the bench boost has worked out for me.
That is a very good return on a bench boost.
I'm also going to say, though, that Neto, after his glorious 7 points in game week 33 and his phenomenal 8 points in game week 30, got me a 3 in game week 34 and a 1 in game week 35. So he may not have been the star differential pick I thought he was.
It was fun while it lasted, though, eh?
It was fun. And on the free hit, I had Johnston, who got me 10 points, and maybe more on him a little bit later on. But that brings us to game week 35, the good week to have a bad week. I've entered on 42 with no transfers and no hits. How have you done?
28 with no transfers and no
At
hits.
least you didn't take hits.
Yeah, that is the blessing in disguise. I almost did, which wouldn't have paid off either. I mean, it's just bleak, isn't it? Steele with -2, Dunk with -1, Kanji with 2, Trippier with 1.
Before you get into players, why don't we talk about the games themselves? Because
it's been a mad week.
It was ridiculous. I think it can be best summed up by the understanding that of all the players to go off, of all the players to go nuts, Dwight McNeil got more points in game week 35 than the entire Newcastle starting 11.
It's sickening.
Which is absolutely...
Of all the players. I mean, to be fair, the most surprising thing this week is Chelsea won a game.
Most disappointing thing this week is Chelsea won a game. Looks like they're safe from relegation, unfortunately. But if they had lost this week, then actually we may be having that conversation with 3 game weeks to go, because what have they got next? Nottingham Forest, then the Manchester double. It's funny how Chelsea have a really good fixture next, and then a double game week in game week 37. And they're just not on the table for me. There isn't a single player at Chelsea I'm even tempted by over the next few weeks or so.
João Felix.
No.
Been there, done that. No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's been a crazy week. I think the thing that sums it up most is, I think, of all the players that are in the team of the week, Van Dijk is the highest owned, and he's like is it 11 or 17% or something like that. So it just goes to show that it really has been a poor week for the highly owned players. And we can talk about all of our players included in that. I think the highest anyone on my team got was 8, maybe. Let me double check.
Yeah, mine was Salah.
No, Salah.
Salah with 10. So he's in a shift. But yeah, I agree with you. We have to start by talking about Brighton. Brighton are the most important team in FPL right now. And a lot of people are going to have Solly March, and those people can consider themselves unlucky. He should have got the start, realistically. And when he came on, he looked the most likely to create, except then he gave away the ball stupidly for an Everton goal, another Everton goal, and then got himself injured. And then at the death, Mitoma with the assist, and McAllister with the most brilliant goal. Only a World Cup winner could have scored that goal. Quality. A rare belly in, as we like to call them, and we don't see many of them around, do we? But that was the biggest slice of jam. That's a bigger slice of jam than Dallo coming off the bench and getting 14 points for me earlier in the season. That is just a sheer slice of luck, that Mitoma assist and McAllister goal right at the end. But I think if you're a Solly March owner, he's been dodging points for fun for about 5 or 6 weeks. And now he looks like he's probably out to the season. So it begs the question, who do you replace him with?
That is the question, isn't it? Especially because there are people that are obviously already doubled up on Brighton midfielders, because a lot of people have got Mitoma. Some people might have Mitoma, McAllister and March, in which case, do you go for another Brighton midfielder? I would kind of argue that if you can, maybe look elsewhere in the Brighton squad. Like if it needs a 4-point hit, potentially it could be worth it. I really like that Enciso, but just the fact that he's a forward really makes it harder to get him in. If he was a midfielder, it'd be well worth the punt. But just that extra forward slot, you don't have it, do you?
I'm not keen though. Have you watched Brighton play with Enciso in the team?
Yeah, but he's just direct and he's greedy.
It's like watching Andros Townsend. He used to shoot.
Absolute baller.
He used to shoot about 30 times a game, but none of them went anywhere near the target.
Yeah, but every now and then one of them will come off. Law of averages.
Yeah, but he's so bad at shooting. I mean, honestly, he is just shooting at every opportunity, but none of the shots are good. I don't know what his XG has been, but I can't imagine it's been high. So, yeah, I'm really not keen.
6.9.
I think, nice. I think if you're going to go for a Brighton forward, you're actually better off going for Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, I'd agree. He looks like he's starting at the moment, and I don't see that changing. Even though they've got Undav playing in that sort of withdrawn role a little bit in the 10, he could be worth looking at. He's bagged a couple of goals, but I think Welbeck's the one, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as someone who's got Evan Ferguson in their team and who will be moving him out this week. I know it's a double game week for them, but I can't. That performance was so bad. I know things have to change, and De Zerbi, I'm sure, will make things change after that. But I don't want Evan Ferguson in my team. He came off the bench yesterday, but he's not looking like he's going to get that starting place back over Welbeck, unless they do decide to change it because of how bad it was.
He played well when he came on. I've got a Stupinian as well. I almost feel like the performance yesterday was a bit of a, okay, let's write this off, let's go again. I'm not too worried about, well, such words. I don't think a Stupinian, McAllister or Matoma are going to be rotated. For me, they're on a hold. But if you've got Solly March, and I think McAllister's the obvious replacement, but if you're chasing in a mini league, I think there's a few other options you can go to. So the other team with a double game week this week are Newcastle, who have got some really, really interesting picks and some potential Solly March replacements. So talk to me about Newcastle and some of the options there that have caught your eye.
Well, we've spoken a little bit about them in the last few weeks because of obviously some of the results they've had, the Spurs one being the main standout one. But like Almiron's, they're still their top scoring midfielder, but he's bench fodder at the moment, so you're not looking there. I know it's rogue, but I still like Joe Linton. He starts every game, so there's obviously that, but he is slightly more expensive. Then even like the likes of Joe Willock and Jacob Murphy, we've both spoken about in these last few game weeks, they're getting minutes and they're playing pretty well overall. I know they'll be slightly disappointed by the Arsenal result. A lot of people expected a lot more out of them in that game, but I think Arsenal just sort of played to like their weaknesses quite well, wasted a lot of time. But then I know who you're going to mention is Alan Saint-Maximin, but unfortunately, without getting much game time at the moment, he seems to just be an option off the bench for them.
Agreed. Yeah, if you're looking at who's actually playing and playing regularly, Murphy and Willock are the ones. The thing about looking at Murphy, he tends to come off after 60 minutes on every game, whereas Willock looks, if you look at his minutes, like 77 against Arsenal, but then 90, 86, 90, 68, 86. He regularly passes that 60-minute mark, 42 points. So I think it's almost like the Grealish versus Mahrez debate at Man City. I think Murphy is more explosive, but Willock is more consistent for starts. And that's how you have to approach Newcastle on this 1 week punt. They're the two options in the midfield. I really don't know what to think about the striking situation though, at Newcastle. And I've got Isak at the moment. If you don't have Isak or Wilson, what are your arguments for getting one or the other, or getting both?
I've really struggled with this one because I am like looking at potentially bringing Wilson in to double up with Isak. When the two play together, which they did do against Arsenal this week, Isak tends to be shifted out to the left and Wilson plays through the centre. And that's probably suits their styles a little bit more. Wilson is your typical number 9 goal scorer, likes to play between the lines at the edge of the box, doesn't really tend to drift out wide too much and run the channels. Isak's a bit more skilled, like we saw with that brilliant run for the assist that wasn't given to him against Everton. I think it's difficult because after that performance against Arsenal, which was slightly disappointing, you could see him going back to one up front with just the one of them. And I don't know who it's going to be. And that's the really difficult thing. I think it is a bit of a coin toss. I'd say probably Isak is the one to go for if you're only going for one, because I think he's been playing better and more consistently over the last 6 to 8 weeks. But it could be a gamble.
Worth noting as well that Isak stays on the pitch for the full 90 against Arsenal. Wilson was taken off, and in the game before that, Southampton, he played 45. He played 86 against Everton, but he played 24 and 34 minutes and 45 minutes in the 3 games before that, so coming on as a sub. Whereas Isak, essentially is playing 90 minutes every single game, except for the midweek game, actually, where he was a sub against Everton. But
yeah, it tended to be when they've had, and this could be a sign of things to come this week when they have got a double. It might be that Isak starts one and Wilson starts the other if they're not both playing up front. So in that case, like, you probably can't really go wrong. Obviously, it depends who starts in the Leeds game, which is probably where they're going to get the most points.
Yeah, I think Leeds have to be the target team here in this double game week. But I don't know, away against Leeds and a 12:30 kickoff, that could be a
Big Sam
against Newcastle.
They did have a big improvement against City as well, is worth saying, in that first game. So it's not the banker fixture you think it is, because of the situation, and Leeds are fighting for their lives now. So they really need something out of this game because time is running out.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
I just want to say one thing on the Newcastle front. For all the fantastic business they've done under this new ownership, which is a whole different kettle of fish, has there been a bigger waste of money than Anthony Gordon? Because he is fucking dreadful, and I will stand by that.
Agreed. But there has also been two bigger wastes of money than Anthony Gordon.
Is one of them Anthony? It must be something to do with the name. Who's the other one then?
Richarlison, of course.
Oh, yeah, true. To be fair, Richarlison has scored 4 goals this season and taken his shirt off 4 times. 3 of them he's been offside, and the 4th one, they then went up the other end and conceded straight away. And it couldn't happen to a nicer bloke.
Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke. Couldn't happen to a nicer set of fans.
It could. It could happen to Chelsea fans.
Speaking of Chelsea, waste of money. I mean, let's not start that conversation.
The list is endless there.
So I think for this upcoming double, Brighton and Newcastle are the teams to target. However, there's lots of good single game week players as well this week. So what's your thinking when it comes to the other players? Assuming you do have 3 Brighton and 3 Newcastle, which we both probably will. What other teams are you going to be looking to own and looking to target?
I'm going to be completely honest here. One that I think is definitely worth targeting this week. Brentford could be on the beach, but I think they are a good team to invest in this week because they play West Ham between West Ham's 2 Europa Conference League semi-final fixtures. West Ham are pretty much safe now, so I can see there being a lot of rotation for that game on Sunday afternoon. We saw it, the Man City game, although officially they had a bug, but I'm not buying that. We didn't play Rice, we didn't play Aguerd, we didn't play Souček. So I think that we'll see a lot of that on Sunday.
Yeah, I actually agree. I was going to pick out Ivan Toney as a potential really good option for this week. It's a shame the next 2 fixtures are Spurs away and Man City. So if you're going to get Toney into this 1 week only.
I don't know, Spurs.
Well, we'll see. I just think that Leicester was so bad against a Fulham side that are so clearly on the beach. It's unbelievable. However, for 70 minutes, they looked like peak Barcelona. Leicester were that terrible. And Willian's goal was a 35-yard away cross that was just floated in that everyone just missed. I mean, Leicester are awful at the moment, beyond words. So if there's one team they want to play right now, it's probably Liverpool.
Yeah, if they play anywhere near that badly against Liverpool, and this is why I'm seriously considering captaining Salah this week. I think it's just, if you're not captaining a doubler, then Salah's a great shout amongst the other potential good shouts. Because, let's be honest, your usual suspects are Haaland and Salah. You could see a situation where Haaland's rested a little bit at the weekend again because of these Champions League semi-finals. So, Leicester, for a team that are fighting for their lives, to go ahead and just concede 5 to a Fulham side without Mitrovic and, like you say, on the beach, it's just unforgivable. They are doomed.
A word on Mitrovic as well. I'm giving you the opportunity to correct the records on his disciplinary record.
No.
Matthew Higgins last week said Mitrovic is always a moment away from a red card. How many red cards has Mitrovic got in his Fulham career, Matthew Higgins?
I don't care. I don't care about his Fulham career. I care about his career, and I'm going to see how many red cards he's got.
So since he's got
Because
Fulham, he has had 1 red card.
yeah, but I don't care about that.
So how many?
when you Google, I've googled Alexander Mitrovic red cards. You know, you get the suggested questions. People also ask the top one: why is Mitrovic red card?
That's a fair question.
It's where is his base? Where's his Soccerway page or whatever it is? Because I'm convinced he's had a few over his career, isn't he?
He also only actually commits 1.53 fouls per 90 minutes.
Right. Amazing. So that's a European one, a red card. Yellow. He gets a lot of yellow card suspensions, I'll put it that way. Red card in that's a European one.
So he's got 20 yellow cards and 2 red cards in the Premier League in all seasons. And that's 125 appearances. So a yellow card maybe once every 5 games and a red card once every 62 games.
So since he came to England, basically, he's had 1 red card for Newcastle, 2 red cards for Newcastle, 3 red cards for Newcastle. And then, he's had 3 yellow cards, suspensions for Fulham, plus a suspension through the Sports Corp in July 2020, which was a 3-game ban. And then, yes, he had this one, which is obviously an 8-game ban.
So actually, his disciplinary record is not that good. No, I'm not going to be bringing him in. I've taught myself into it and I've taught myself out of it. Also because Fulham look really good going forward without him. So I'm not sure he walks straight back into that Fulham side. So I'm very much not going to go with Mitrovic. And the last 2 games are pretty tough from Crystal Palace at home, Man U away. But Man U is something to play for. So yeah, I'm not going to go near them. Another team to speak about, Crystal Palace. They play Bournemouth home, Fulham away, and Nottingham Forest at home in their next 3 fixtures. Bournemouth and Fulham on the beach. In Bournemouth's case, literally. So
literally, yeah.
Neither team...
And to be fair, Fulham are right on the Thames. That's basically a beach.
There's different kinds of beaches, aren't there? They all count.
Nottingham Forest are right on the river as well.
I mean, Nottingham Forest might be safe by then. So 3 easy-ish games, and their team's always something to play for. I think Palace, from a defensive standpoint, could be a great option looking at moving forward. I'm not opposed to bringing in Johnston, their goalkeeper, because he's been performing relatively well.
A couple of weeks ago, I said yes, but I feel like they're on the beach as well. Kevin De Bruyne has just had a shot on target.
Yes!
And there was an offside straight away afterwards.
I don't have offsides.
Oh, damn. But anyway, yes. So a couple of weeks ago, I'd have agreed with you on the Palace front. But I just feel like they're now on the beach because, I mean, they conceded 3 to West Ham. Admittedly, they won the game, but you're talking defensively. And then they lost 1-0 to a Wolves side who are also without anything to play for. So I think they're very much sights set on next season, a managerial appointment, and they're just going through the motions to finish this season off.
Yeah, I would think that's a fair assessment. I still think there's something there, though. Manchester United, the thing that's stopping me from buying more Manchester United is that they look absolutely cream crackered. If you haven't got Rashford, then that's a really easy Solly March replacement. But that aside, I'm not sure I'd be going near them because I think the way they're playing is reflective of the fact that they've played a lot of games this season.
What about Diogo Dalot, your boy?
I've got him. I'm holding him. I'm not going to lose him. He's still my boy.
Yeah, you're not going to sell anyone, are you? But I agree with you that it's hard to think of someone worth investing in outside of Rashford. Fernandes is doing nothing. Weghorst's doing nothing. Sancho, again, has been benched again, even though I think he's been one of their better players in recent weeks. Maybe it's tiredness coming back from injury and a long layoff. I don't know, but it's disappointing, really. But when you consider that their fixtures are Wolves at home, a double of Bournemouth away and Chelsea at home, and Fulham at home, all while they've got something to play for as well, we should be saying this is worth tripling up on. But you just don't know where to go.
I mean, Wolves at home, they had an absolute horror show against Brighton, loads of individual mistakes, and the manager looks furious afterwards. I doubt Wolves are going to put a performance like that in again for the rest of the season. So I think that's a tougher game than people are necessarily giving it credit for. I think the double, they're at Bournemouth away. That's a long trip, and you never know. Bournemouth, they can turn around awesome performances. They can also be terrible, but they can turn around. And Chelsea, who have just started winning under Frank Lampard, this is the resurgence of Lampard, the redemption story. But I think Chelsea will probably be quite a tight game. And then
Yeah, but Chelsea are mathematically safe now, so
yeah, Fulham last game of the season as well. Everyone wants to finish the end of the season on a high, so that's a bit of a TBC as well.
like Liverpool, but the thing is that Man United can't afford to switch off because Liverpool putting the pressure on, and then like you say, 5 in a row, and they've got decent fixtures to finish the season with. So I would say it's not odds on, but it's quite likely that Liverpool finish with 3 wins. So that means Man United have got to perform. And if they don't, they could easily throw away Champions League football, which they can't afford to do.
Yeah, and Liverpool's next 3 fixtures are Leicester away, Leicester who are terrible defensively, Aston Villa at home, and Southampton away. Villa seem to have gone off the boil a bit, and Southampton are the worst team in the league.
Southampton will be down by then.
Yeah, so at this point, I think Liverpool are very investable. But actually, Liverpool and Man U, if you've got 2 players, so say at Manchester United, you've got Rashford plus Shaw, or Rashford plus, in my case, Dalot. Liverpool, you've got Salah and you've got Trent. Who are the third options for both of those teams?
I would say for Liverpool, there's decent options in Gakpo, Jota, even Darwin got a start. So but obviously there's rotation risks. For United, there's fewer good options, really, isn't there? Especially, I mean, I'd still be tempted by Sancho just on the off chance that he might get a start and get a goal. I don't think they're worth investing in defensively. They got lucky against West Ham. Obviously, they conceded 1 thanks to an absolute disaster class from David De Gea. West Ham should have had a penalty as well. And they were open. So I just, if you want a third United, just pick someone and hope for the best. But I wouldn't even say they're necessarily worth a third.
I think with the double game week, they kind of are. I mean, the problem with Liverpool is that you've essentially got 2 forward positions that have got Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, Darwin, and Firmino when he's back from injury next week, all competing over. So I don't think you can guarantee minutes on any of them. Whereas with Man U, they're a bit more settled. I hate myself for uttering these words. Is Anthony worth a punt? I hate
maybe
or David De Gea, perhaps.
No. I just can't get excited about any of them. Maybe Anthony Martial. They looked a bit better when he came on for Weghorst. I can't see Weghorst starting again. The tactics just didn't add up. Playing him as a withdrawn number 10, no, not for me. Maybe with Martial, he's a little bit more direct, a little bit more pace in the attack. Maybe, but yeah, just pick a name out of a hat and hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm not super convinced either. And at the moment, I've got 2 United. I'm not really tempted to buy a third. Let's talk then about the captaincy choice this week, because it's a very tough one. As a reminder, the 2 teams doubling are Newcastle with Leeds away and Brighton at home, and Brighton with Arsenal away, Newcastle away. So a very, very, very tricky double for Brighton. And a not so simple double for Newcastle either. So I'm going to be having 3 of each. 3 Newcastle, 3 Brighton. But there's also single game week players with great fixtures. Salah against Leicester, Haaland against Everton, and it's still Haaland and Everton is still Everton. Rashford against Wolves potentially. Trent against Leicester could be a really great captaincy pick. Antonio against Brentford. No, maybe not that last one. I'm Antonio against West Ham. It's going to be such a diverse field when it comes to captaincy. And Harry Kane we haven't mentioned him yet, but he is just a mini league destroyer if you have him. He is the key to rising up any mini league you have if you're chasing. And I really, really wish I could move things around and have Harry Kane in my team for the last few weeks of the season, because he's aiming for what? His records in a season is 29 goals, I think, something like that. So he'll be aiming for 30. He's on about 26 at the moment. His last 3 games are Villa, Brentford and Leeds. I think Harry Kane could easily pick up 5 goals in the next 3 games.
Yeah, and he does tend to finish the season strong as well. I mean, they had that a couple of years ago. It was a good few years ago now when he bagged 4 on the last day of the season. So, yeah, it's a good time to own Kane. He always tends to finish strongly. Spurs, though, like, again, what's going on at that club? Like, you just do not know what to do with them. So, and he's a lot of money to invest in someone. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself that it's a bad idea, when in reality that I know he is a good idea and he's a good player, like you say. Not the highest ownership, so every time he bags, it's good for you. So
I just think over the next few games, I wish I could have Haaland and Salah and Kane. And it may be a case of, in the last game, dropping Haaland for Kane, just to go a bit different and go a bit fun with it. Maybe if I'm like 5 points behind someone in my mini league and I really want to catch them, I'll just drop Haaland for Kane and gamble on a Kane captaincy, because City have got Brentford away, Spurs have got Leeds away. I'd back Kane to get more than Haaland in that match.
It's a tough one, though, especially if Leeds have still got something to play for. And under Big Sam, a resolute defence wouldn't go amiss, whereas City could be in party mode by then with the league wrapped up and score about 84 goals.
A team we also haven't spoken about is Arsenal. Speaking of the league being wrapped up, put in a good performance against Newcastle. Odegaard is on fire. He's safe.
Finally kept a fucking clean sheet, didn't they? When I benched Zinchenko, cunt.
I'm not sure why you still have Zinchenko. But last 3 games, Brighton.
I'm not sure why I have any of the players I have. Apart from Haaland.
Come on, focus. 3 games, Brighton home, Forest away, Wolves at home. 3 lovely ends of the season fixtures.
Who are we talking about again?
Arsenal.
Arsenal, that's it. Yeah.
Are you having a moment? Shall we pause for the sake of the one listener? Matthew Higgins is having a stroke.
Yeah. Yeah, very inappropriate to do on camera. But yeah, no, it's decent fixtures. Brighton is not necessarily the easiest fixture, but Forest away and Wolves at home are very good fixtures to end the season with. I just wish I kept Odegaard throughout the entire season, because it would really be paying dividends now. Remember at the start of the season when I had him and you were saying, no, he's not worth it. Martinelli and Saka are both better. And your words were, in fact,
if there is a single one of your midfielders I would be considering an FPL.
They were your words. And Odegaard was one of those midfielders. So why did I not stick by my man?
How long have you had that saved?
Basically since the week it happened. And then I think I had quite a good week that week, which is probably the one good week I've had this season.
I mean, Odegaard, the problem is as soon as I bring Odegaard in, that's it. He's done for the season.
Yeah.
But I think after 38, I'll probably move for an Arsenal player as well as...
After 38?
No, for 38.
Oh, sorry. That's a bit late then, Tom.
The problem is with the double game weeks for City, United and Brighton all in 37, I can't really see myself going for one before them.
Yeah, that's the issue. We've gone really far away from talking about the captaincy here. Who are you thinking as your captain?
My captain for this week is, I don't know. So my armband, and I hate this, is currently on Trippier. I think the underlying stats are still good. And actually, if you watch the last 2 games, in both of the last 2 game weeks, he's been top for crosses and top for chances created. The forwards just haven't been putting them away. What team is better to put them away against than Leeds? And also, Big Sam are going to have Leeds sitting back. Therefore, a clean sheet is more likely than it was 3 weeks ago.
God, those straws you're clutching at seem so far away right now.
I do think it's why we captained Josh King and Emmanuel Denny last year. If there's a double, you captain the double. That's it. It's that simple.
Would you like me to go back over Kieran Trippier's last 7 games?
Why 7 in particular? Why not 8?
Because the 8th game he got something. All right, then let's go over his last 10, which is a round number. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 12, 2, 5.
Where are you? Oh, right. So you're going down. 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 12, 2, 5. Don't forget
1, 2, 2.
However, I think.
However, nothing.
So
I don't care. Like, even if it comes off and he gets like 30 points, I will still claim it was a bad choice. Underlying numbers this, underlying numbers that. The numbers that matter are his fucking returns, and he's got none.
So the alternatives are Isak, who I'm not convinced starts both games. So that's like captaining a single. Callum Wilson has the same problem. And I'm actually intending to bring in Nick Pope again this week because Neto is the big problem on my team. And I don't think there's a better goalkeeper between now and the end of the season that I could get at this stage without hindsight from Nick Pope, realistically.
Right. So Nick Pope has 4 games left.
Exactly.
You're telling me that he will keep more clean sheets in those 4 games than any other goalkeeper in the league?
No, I'm saying he'll collect more points than any other. If I was to make a prediction, I think Nick Pope is going to get the most amount of points between now and the end of the season.
Interesting.
And I don't love having Nick Pope in goal, but it makes the most sense for my team. They've got a double game week. It gets me 3 Newcastle. However, that doesn't mean he's a captaincy option. So from the Newcastle assets, of the 3 I'll have, that means Trippier is the best one for me. I think if you've got a Joe Linton, he's actually a really potential option. Or you could actually still go with a Matoma or a McAllister because they're both still picking up returns. They still look like they should be getting way more. Both of them are options. Or you can go for a single player, in which case you go Salah or Haaland. I'd lean towards Salah personally, but Haaland's a good shout. Kane is always a good shout as well.
I think my 2 options that I am torn between are Isak and Salah. I think I'm leaning towards Salah, just because, like you say, Isak with the rotation risk, he probably will play in both games, and he'll probably play the majority of the minutes in both games. But where they're not the best fixtures, I think Salah against the Leicester side that look woeful at the moment, I think that's a better shout than Haaland. Plus, I feel like more people will captain Haaland, so Salah is more of a differential. So that's what I'm thinking with, and that's why I'm probably leaning towards him.
I actually completely agree with that. I would go for Salah over another doubler, actually. I'm also going Trippier on the basis of I think he can get some attacking returns against Leeds and Brighton. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet against Brighton, but I think he'll get some attacking returns there. So that's the thinking around it. However, the captaincy is really, really wide open. It is a great week to take a bit of a risk. So if you're looking at an Isak, if you're looking at a single game week player, if you're looking at a Callum Wilson, then it is the week to do it, and it's really exciting.
Why not go for Kai Havertz?
Okay, Matt, you go for Kai Havertz.
My favourite footballer. Him and Wilfried Zaha.
Can't believe you're not going Kai Havertz in game week 37. Manchester City away, Manchester United away.
Imagine he scores like 4 goals across those 2 games.
Still don't hate bringing Kai Havertz.
You do. You do.
How about this? Who have they got in game week 38? What's their last
Newcastle at home.
Yeah, you're not bringing in any Chelsea. I was going to say, if they've got like a really easy game, then you could just have fun and bring in like Kai Havertz or someone. But no, that's not on the cards.
The word you've used there incorrectly is fun.
Yeah, that's true. Chelsea are a very fun team to invest in. So what are your transfers going to be this week and how are you looking to line up?
My current plans are to drop Bowen and Ferguson and bring in Wilson and a midfielder.
Who?
Good question. Maybe a Brighton midfielder.
McAllister, surely. You've got Matoma, right?
Nope. I don't have any Brighton midfielders.
Oh, I'd go Matoma, but no, McAllister's the one scoring goals. So flip a coin.
Yeah, it is probably it's one of those two, isn't it? So I'm thinking probably I might go McAllister. Just seems a bit more fun.
Yeah, I feel like Matoma is very widely owned. So McAllister will be as well this week, though, because everyone will go march to McAllister. So
true.
I would definitely go for one of them, but I don't. Yeah, it's up to you whether you fancy the winger or the really, really good central midfield forward. Okay, my transfers are going to be Neto. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for the points and the fun, but goodbye.
Thanks for the memories.
Or maybe I could keep Neto and drop Iverson.
Could do.
Who have Newcastle got between? But there's no scenario where I don't start Nick Pope over Neto. So there's no sense in doing that. So Neto's going to go. Antonio's going to drop to a cheap starting forward. I haven't decided who yet. Maybe who's the cheapest forward that I know will be starting? If I quickly go on transfers now. So Antonio swap out for... Okay, forwards, let's go. Max price is 5.4. Edward's not starting, is he? Notto, is he starting? Probably not. Mateta's not starting.
God, that is bottom of the barrel stuff there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some real bottom. So what? Let's have a look. If I go Neto out and Nick Pope in, that gives me 6.2 to pick a striker with. So let's see what my options
Dominic Solanke.
Out with the old Bournemouth, I think with the new.
Brian Mbeumo could be a shout against West Ham.
That's what I was thinking. Or even Johnson or Awaniyi for Nottingham Forest. Both could be potential options for... actually, I'm not sure about that. Nottingham Forest have got some very tough games. But Dom Solanke, maybe. I don't think... Oh, perhaps Patson Daka's not been starting, has he? Anthony Martial is 0.1 too expensive. I would do that if I could. Neil Maupay, your favourite player ever.
I'm just saying this. Mbeumo has played 3 games against West Ham and he's got 2 goals and an assist.
His returns have not been great this season. So,
yeah, but neither of West Ham. Well, no, but like I say, we're going to be sort of... I can see a world where they beat us quite comfortably.
Yeah, that seems fun. Because I'm only going to play him for 1 week, right? So that seems fun. So it means I can bench probably Grealish and Stones this week. I know they're playing. Maybe not Stones, actually, but I'll probably bench Grealish. Yeah, so if I'm looking at 3 players I can bench, actually, that makes it very, very difficult. So I mean, my squad is Pope and then Everson on the bench. But then Trent, Stones, Dalot, I'll probably bench Dalot, Trippier and Estupinian. Then McAllister, Matoma, Salah, Grealish and Rashford. Then Haaland, Mbeumo, Isak. I'm probably benching Mbeumo no matter what.
Good option to have coming off the bench, though, probably.
Yeah, assuming someone doesn't play, which, let's be honest, is a very real possibility. Yeah, that sounds fun. So after the Man City game, assuming no injuries, I will be doing that. If Haaland gets injured, then I'm just going to straight swap him to Kane.
Makes sense. No-brainer, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Captaincy, I think it's going to be on Trippier and Novitas on Salah, but it depends. If I find out someone in my mini leagues is doing that, then I will swap it around.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, but because you hate it, it's going to end up...
It'll be great.
I'm currently on 173k at the moment, so the top 100 is within sight, and I've got 3 game weeks to get there. So I think I've got to, if things go well, I can get into the top 100. So I'm cautiously optimistic about. I don't think I'll beat what I did last year, about 80-ish, but I think I can get close. Maybe the top 125 is a more realistic target. So I'll have to see what the next few weeks pans out like.
Yeah, that's doable. I'll be cheering you on through gritted teeth.
Well, next season can be your season. Next year's our year, Matt.
It can't be any worse than this year for me. Famous last words.
You've got so much right this season, but you've just got it all right at the wrong times. It's
Yeah.
quite weird. Odegaard, you called it way too early. Like KDB, you just hit the wrong timings every time. It's just been pretty brutal. So look, everyone, we will be back next week with another episode of Big at the Back. Only 3-4 episodes left, most likely. But we will have a bit more fun in the next few episodes. We'll look towards the end of the season, and we can't wait to hear from you all. You can come and join us and interact with us on Twitter at Big at the Back.
Yep, you can find me at Higgins92 and Tom is at Tom Madden92. All of the terrible opinions on Twitter are exclusively Tom Madden's. You can quote me on that.
I don't think that's quotable because you're on Twitter more than I am.
Yeah, but all the terrible opinions and yours, like that's a fact.
I don't think that's very fair. I, for one, no, I'm not going to say it.
I was waiting for that. I was like, am I going to have to crop this out?
Oh, yeah, if we were going live, then maybe it would have been done for the bands. Okay, look, before I say anything that's going to get me cancelled, we will be back next week. Looking forward to another great game week, and good luck, everyone.